Hello fellow ESA players, and welcome to my first ever build video. I wanted to release this one, got quite a lot of interest recently over it. I think Stamplar, which is what I'm playing, has not got a lot of love recently. In my opinion, there's quite a few videos out there, but I wanted to put my take on how I like to play a Stamplar, what I think works, any differences you can make depending on your playstyle. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is gear, the gear that I'm using, what I found that I like. Then we'll move on to other things you can change depending on your playstyle. But essentially I'm going to give it my take on the Stamplar, see what you guys think. So on my back bar, my bow bar, I'm running 5 Clever Alchemist. I always try and pop that off before going into a big fight, so I get that extra buff. The 661 extra weapon damage is just so handy for your heals, for the damage you're putting out. Obviously if you use Dawnbreaker, that will hit very hard multiple targets. So on the body, the 1, 2, 3 and 4 pieces of Clever Alchemist. Then on my front bar, so my main DPS bar, I'm using Spriggans. I'm using an axe on here at the moment, mainly because that's the only one I picked up, but also I do like the bleed that you get from it, which I'll show from the skills in just a moment. And then I have 3 Spriggans rings and 1 Spriggan on the legs, all impenetrable in here at the moment, which gives me a nice bit of tankiness because I am running all medium apart from my Veladreth shoulders. Now using both 2-piece Veladreth, and this is what I found that I like at the moment. I did use Celine's for a while. Celine's let me bring this up. Celine's I did like. That was very nice. Having that, it procs a lot more than Veladreth. I find that I end up facing a lot more people than one target. So for my Stamplar phase in Veladreth, so I can take on a few targets. And also Veladreth procs, as it says here, when you deal damage. So this one for Celine says when you deal direct melee damage. Deal any damage from here. I'll move on to that in a moment of why I like doing that. Let me just get away from this mammoth before it comes after me again. So that's the gear that I'm running. Now I would like to run all medium. So if I can get a medium one of these eventually when I get around to doing PvE, then I'll use that. Now I am running all medium on here. My resistances, which I'll show you my stats in just a moment, but if you are worried about being tanky or facing multiple people, you want to have a little bit more protection, a little bit more resistances, then by all means you can put a heavy on the chest, and you can get a alchemist on the legs and put a heavy there and have a Spriggan elsewhere, and that's fine. So you can have a Spriggan belt for example, and then put heavy on the chest, heavy on the legs. That'll be absolutely fine. The stats will still be good and you'll get higher resistances, but I just like the medium, and I'll show you for why in just a moment. So let's move on to skills. So I have Crit Rush. I did go for Crit Rush over the what's that one called, Stampede. The slow from Stampede is very nice, but I find the extra damage is just paramount when dealing with multiple foes. Especially if you've got a couple of enemies in front of you, you're taking those on, and you get those people, shall we say nicely and politically correct, in the background that just sniping from a distance. I want to be able to crit rush onto those. I want to do big damage straight away. As soon as I run in with crit rush, I'm going to try and go for a dizzying swing. That's a nice way of doing it. Get a CC straight away. As soon as you hit them with that dizzying swing, I will then move straight onto my biting jabs, main DPS for any Stamplar. Biting jabs hits very hard. It's a lovely ability to use. Now also running on the basis of dealing with multiple enemies, the reason I've got Veladreth, the reason I've got Dawnbreaker, I use Reverse Slice over Executioner. Executioner does do a little bit more damage, so it does 350% more damage to enemies with less than 50% health, whereas Reverse Slice does 300%. That's a bit of a difference. If you're using a single target, then yes, Executioner would be nicer. And if you prefer having Executioner, that's not going to cause you much of an issue. But once again, I do try and deal with multiple enemies. So if I get one down to 40%, let's say, and I did another reverse slice, other enemies nearby take 82% of the damage inflicted to the primary target. Now that's important. Let's say if I did, let's say if I did a 10k reverse slice on someone. That would be nice. But if I did 10k reverse slice on someone, that means enemies around them, so other targets, are going to take 82% of that. So they're going to take 8,200 damage. So they don't have to be below the 50% threshold. They just get the splash damage from the first target you're going for. Imperative. I love it. Now, obviously, use rally. Need that buff, the extra 20%, and the heal is very helpful. Taking on many targets. Another thing that people do forget about is you heal for damage every 2 seconds, and it may not be a massive amount of heal. The final heal is increased for up to 564%, but the longer you leave it and then you can pop it again, it will give a bigger heal. So you can actually let that run. It's meant to go for 33 seconds, and that's when you get the 564%. And it's proportioned to the length of time rally's been activated. So if I've let it run for 20 seconds, I start getting low on health, I haven't got any pots up, I can pop that again, and that'll give me a nice burst heal again straight away. Then obviously, I'm using Dawnbreaker as smiting. Fantastic ability. The damage is very nice, and you get the knockdown on enemies as well, and that's a cone in front of you, so that knockdown will affect multiple targets. Once again, building to all of my characteristics. If Veladreth goes off at the same time as Dawnbreaker is smiting, I can then go into a reverse slice light attack combo, repeat, and I'm going to take down 3 or 4 people in one go. It's beautiful. Onto the back bar. Extended Ritual, always amazing to use. Cleansing off 5 harmful effects is great. Once again, I'm mainly a solo player, so I do have to deal with multiple targets going for me, and they're all trying to put on their debuffs on me. Boom. Extended Ritual, I then get that off me straight away. Now you do also get, I can't remember what the buff it's called. Okay, so that gives Major Mending. Sorry, I couldn't find it, but I'll just put it on there. So yeah, it provides Major Mending, which increases your healing done. That's always nice to have. You can't say no to that. On the basis of that, my next is Restoring Focus. So this creates a Rune of Celestial Protection, which defends you while you're standing in with it, and up for 8 seconds after leaving it. Now, the rune itself gives you Major Resolve and Major Ward, which increases your resistances. That's very much needed, because we are running medium armor, so those extra little buffs there will help me. But it also gives you Minor Vitality and Minor Protection, which increases your healing received and reducing your damage taken by 8%. That, I cannot sing its praises enough. That has saved me so many times by reducing the amount of damage I'm taking. Do that, do Restoring Focus, do the Extended Ritual, and then on to Vigor. Vigor will then give that nice big heal over time. If my rally's been up for 20 seconds, I'll pop that as well. I'm at full health straight away. I've reset the fight. I'm back on it. Now, next thing I use is Shuffle. Now, obviously it did get the nerf, if you will, of getting the increasing your dodge chance to 15% rather than 20% it was beforehand. It's still good. It's still useful. 15% can still save your life. It's worth having. Always on there. But also it takes away your snares. Now most of the PvP at the moment is snare central. You get snared, and obviously with Dragon Knights now having the talons around, you use your Extended Ritual for the talons. If you get snared by anything, you Shuffle, you've cleansed it off basically. It's a great thing to have. After that, then I use Repentance. It's just a free heal, free stamina back once you've killed people. It does give you the 10% increase to magic recovery, health and stamina recovery, but mainly I use it for the healing of dead enemies and obviously the stamina return as well. It's too useful not to have on there. And ultimate on the back bar is Devouring Swarm. Now obviously not being a magic class, it doesn't deal a lot of damage, and I'm not using it to deal a lot of damage. I'm using it for the heals, because it's all around you. You do that, Extended Ritual, you're getting Major Mending, the heals are going to be good. The damage from it is not going to be useful, but it does cause constant harassment on your enemies. If you're dealing with multiple enemies, that's a lot of harassment you're doing there. It's fantastic. Now I'm going to move on to the pots that I use, the potions I use at the moment, and Essence of Immovability is what I've liked the most. Obviously the knockback, becoming immune to knockback and disabling effects 15 seconds, sorry. Tremendous help. Also restores you for a large amount of health and stamina straight away. Fantastic. There's nothing more you can want from that. I'm not really too concerned with magic. I have 2 magic dumps and they last for quite some time. I can survive if I haven't got magic straight away. That's fine. But becoming immune to those knockback and disabling effects, that is imperative. And that helps me a lot. Now you combine popping one of these potions on my back bar when I've now got an extra bit of damage. I'm putting enemies on the back foot straight away. If I can do that with a Dawnbreaker, I've ended the fight. Just by popping that Essence of Immovability, they can't stop me. They just have to deal with my damage I'm putting out. Having the Clever Alchemist proc, I'm just pumping out so much damage on them, they're going to go down eventually. It's only a matter of time, essentially. Now the food that I use, pork and radish noodles. I want to increase my health and stamina. Once again, not too fussed about magic. I want to get the most stamina and the most health I can out of this. And this is the best way that I've been able to do it. Now, I mentioned beforehand I'm using a axe. The reason I'm using an axe, heavy weapons. There's passive here. So sword increases your damage done by 5%. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a sword. However, the axe grants your melee attack 16% chance to apply a bleed, dealing 11,256 physical damage over 6 seconds. I love it. Now, another thing I was going to try out, if I can actually get my hands on one, I do try and grind for it myself, because I just don't do PvE, so I don't have the gold. But I would like to try out the mace, because the mace, obviously, ignores 20% of your target's physical resistance. Now, obviously, I'm running Spriggan. So I'm getting, that'll be a lot of penetration I'm getting there, and I think that'll increase my damage. I haven't been able to test it out yet, but that's something I'm going to work on and go towards. So I mentioned that I like using medium armor for a particular reason, and the reason is the passes themselves. Increasing your weapon critical by each piece of medium armor equipped. That's going to be nice. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not too fussed about having the criticals for damage, but I do like having the criticals for healing. So that'll increase my healing received there. Now I get a bit more recovery out of this from having medium armor, which is nice, but also reduces the stamina cost of abilities by 3% per piece of medium armor equipped. So at the moment I'm getting 18%. So if I add the shoulders as well, that'd be 21% reduction in cost. Reduce the cost of sneak, that's nice. So I get 42% of reduction of cost there. It reduces the size of your detection area while sneaking by 5% as well. That is mediocre, that helps out. Now, when 5 or more pieces of medium armor are equipped, increases your weapon damage by 12%. Why not have the extra damage? Base damage, I'll take that. And also, athletics increases your movement speed, bonus of sprint by 3% per medium armor equipped per piece. So 18% on there. Once again, if I had the shoulders and medium, it'd be 21%, and reduces the cost of roll dodge by 4%. Item, so that's 24% on there as well. Now I am running an orc. I love orc anyway. For the lore, for Elder Scrolls games, I've always played orc, but in this way I think it's probably one of the best for stamina classes, for a couple of reasons. You get the max health, you get the max stamina, why not? Increases your healing received by 5% and health recovery. Health recovery, not too concerned about, but the healing received, another layer of keeping me alive. And the best one of all, increases the damage done with melee attacks by 4%. I squeeze out a little bit more damage there, and also reduces the cost of sprinting by 12% and increases movement speed bonus of sprint by 10%. This is all going towards my end game and final goal of my build. Now looking at stats, so if we go on to my stats at the moment, so I'm buffed on my main bars, my 2-hand bar. Max magic, 9,700, nothing special, not really too concerned with that, but max health is 20,000. I'm outside of Cyrodiil, so Cyrodiil would buff me up then to about 25,000. Maximum stamina is 34,000. Not the highest stamina you can have, obviously there are other builds and other sets you could put on, that would give you increased stamina on there, but that's done me absolutely fine. Now, a bit low stats you'll see from here. So magic recovery, once again, not too concerned. Health recovery, not too concerned. I am a vampire, so it's going to be low. But my stamina recovery, this is my main resource. Now I'm only at 719, so it's a low amount of stamina recovery. Now when I get to champion points in a moment, that will make sense. But essentially, I do rely on my pots. So in using my pots, that will give me my stamina back. And I also rely on repentance and heavy attacks. But we'll go on to that in a moment. Now weapon damage unbuffed is 3190. I think that's quite a nice amount of figure to have. Weapon critical at 31%. Resistances 14,500 for spell and just about 12,000 for physical resistance. I'm running the warrior. That has just run past me, that's fine. I'm running the warrior just to push out that a little bit more damage. Now if you do struggle with resources on this, go for the serpent, Serpent will give you more recovery, so that will help out big time as well. Or you can switch to drinks to have stamina recovery on the drinks. Either way, that will give you resources back. Now, on my gear themselves, I have only got weapon damage and it's stamina and all the pieces here. Apart from this one, where I actually have health in it because I haven't changed it yet. But 350 stamina, I wasn't too concerned with, so I'll keep it on health, the extra bit on there. But everything else is going to be stamina. So, let's move on to champion points. So, first thing we go over to is the tower. Now, I have 90 into Warlord, 15% reduction in stamina cost of abilities. That has helped out. That's why I can have such low recovery, 15% less cost of my abilities. Sprinter. I do sprint a lot. I can take it out. I might take it out a little bit later on, but I do use it for escaping. If I take on a little bit too much and I start getting a little bit too much damage, I will switch to the bow bar, roll dodge, get that speed buff from the passive on the bows, and sprint away. And having this 9% does help as well. Moving on to the lover, Mooncalf, stamina recovery 5.5%, so I put 12 points into that. Once again, I don't have a lot of stamina recovery, so putting too many points into this is just going to be a waste. In fact, I might even take these out of there eventually because I'm not getting much of a benefit out of it at all. Tenacity. Now this increases the amount of magic and stamina your heavy attacks restore. So this is what I said about my resource management comes from my heavy attacks, which I'll weave in combat. So if I do my jabs, if I'm doing a dizzying swing, I'll try and maybe do a heavy attack after that if they don't break free straight away. That will give me my resources back. That's 9.8%. Nearly 10% my extra recovery I'm getting from my heavy attacks. That does equate to a lot. That's another dodge roll. That's another biting jabs. That's another executioner or reverse slice. Or a rally if I need the heal. That is a sizable amount. And then I put 30 into tumbling, sorry, not stumbling. That's a solid ground, I think. 8.5%. That's a fine reduction into my roll dodges and my break freeze. Now, onto the blue trees. The apprentice, I've got none. Don't have any need for any of these at all. The Atronach, I do have 10 points into shattering blows. So it increases my damage against targets with a damage shield by 5%. Now, the reason I do this is I do not like sorcerers, magic sorcerers. I'm going to make one eventually just to try them out myself, but I don't like shield stacking and that sort of thing. So I like seeing the panic on people when you see them put up their shield and they're like, yes, it's great, I got my shield up, and then you put this and they're like, oh damn, that's actually doing a lot of damage to my shield. It's fantastic, and that helps me win against sorcerers a lot of the times. Obviously there's some very, very good sorcerers out there that keep themselves going by just putting their shields up, and there's not a lot I can do. I just have to wear them down or try and resource manage them down, which, having low stamina recovery can be difficult, but I just have to bide my time and wait for the right attacks, so it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. Onto the ritual, 80 into mighty. I mean, that's my main source of damage, so it increases your physical, poison, and disease damage. Now, obviously, physical damage, biting jabs, crit rush, dizzying swing, poison damage, disease damage, Villagreff. That's disease. So that's 21.5% essentially extra damage I'm getting out of those. Thermitage increases damage over time. Effects, biting jabs counts as a damage over time. So I might as well increase that, get an extra 20% damage out of that. Piercing increases your physical penetration. I'm getting loads anyway from the gear sets that I'm using. That's only going to help me more. I might as well get a little bit more out of it. And if I do get a mace eventually to go with my Spriggan set, that will increase it even more. And I think that I won't need as much into there. And then precise strikes. Increases damage and healing dealt by weapon criticals. I put a little bit of points into this. I wanted to get about 5% or near enough. Not so much for the damage criticals, but more the healing criticals. Because healing criticals are much more important to me. The criticals in PvP isn't too useful, given that most people, including myself, runs impenetrable mainly. Now, onto the red trees. Steed, I'm running 48 into critical resistance. I don't really need to say anything on that one. You don't want to be critted, so as much critical resistance as you can get, the better. 66 into hardy, and 60 into elemental defender, and then 6 into thick skinned. Now, thick skin reduces the damage taken from damage over time effects. A lot of magic DKs out there right now. They're running a lot of damage over times, and that little reduction there, I take 3.4% less. That has helped out tremendously. Elemental Defender reduces my damage taken from magic attacks, frost, shock, flame, whatever it may be. That reduces that, and then obviously Hardy reduces poison, disease, and physical damage. That's a split that I find useful. Given the fact that most people are running destruction ultimates, even though they've been nerfed as such, which I still think they're very good ultimates to have. I don't think they should be nerfed anymore, they're fine the way they are. But I might start running higher Elemental Defender to counteract that, because I find that I'm better at dealing with stamina classes such as Stamina Nightblades, the gankers that come out of nowhere. I'm better at dealing with those than I am at dealing with those destruction ultimates, because there's no defense. I can't get away from it in time. They pin you down and then you just get drained, essentially, of life. So I might alter that at some point, but at the moment I feel comfortable with it. And then I've done 20 into quick recovery, just increases the effectiveness of healing received by 6%, essentially. That is fine. That increases my heals and has saved my life many times. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention is I am a vampire, as you saw from my ultimate on my back bar. Now, the reason that I went for vampire is two things. One, increase your magic and stamina recovery by 10%. Why not? Why not get that 10% buff? 2. Undeath. Reduce your damage taken by 33% based on your missing health while you're below 50% health. Running medium armor, even with the rune focus up, I'm still not hitting a massive amount of resistances. You look at that. On my back bar, 25k and 22k physical, 25k spell. My front bar, which is when I'm actually doing my damage, I'm below 20k on spell and 17k, just over, physical. So I haven't got a lot of resistances. I do rely on roll dodging, maneuverability, getting around them, and obviously trying to CC them with decent swing. That's where I survive. But having that undeath just makes me that little bit more tanky, so it's a little bit harder for them to kill me when I do get that sort of low health. And I also like having Darkstalker, so in normal movement speed, penalty whilst in crouch. So obviously most people, they walk slowly, normally at this sort of speed, or actually a little bit faster than that, but I can run around like this, still hidden, and that helps me sometimes. I don't do it often, but if I've got a massive group of people, I might try and sneak up, try and get some surprise attack on them by doing a dizzying swing from stealth. So that does a tremendous amount of damage if you can do that. Essentially, if you look at this, on this thing, that was 58k on that. You won't get as much of that, of course, in PvP, but I have done it for sometimes for about 22, which most people run about 20 to 26k health. That's the average. Obviously, then you go higher than that, but that could essentially mean I killed someone. If there's a group of 5, I've taken 1 out already. I've only got 4 to deal with. It's a great thing to have. Alright, there we go. So there we have it. This is my build that I'm running at the moment. having some tremendous fun with it, stretching it, seeing how far I can go, how many people I can take on. And a lot of the times I have been taking out some pretty decent players. I mean, CP 1000 sometimes, which, as you'd expect, they'd be experienced, good level of PvP rank. But I've been taking them on, and I've been holding my own. So I've been happy with this build. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Obviously, do leave a like, a comment if you have any suggestions at all. I'm more than happy to try other things out if I've got it or can get hold of them. I'm more than happy to try other sort of builds that you guys are using, or if you have any ideas, let's discuss it. Why not? That's what we'll do here to do. It's a community more than anything else. And if you can subscribe, if you did enjoy the content, please do. As I said, this is my first ever build video. I hope I've given you enough information that you wanted. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. If not, on my streams on Twitch. Thank you. Bye-bye.